Hello there, boys and girls. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to my Premier League predictions. We're going to go through the whole of the table from bottom to top, and we're going to discuss why I've picked teams there, why I think they're going to finish in the positions that they are going to finish, and we're just going to have a general chat on all things Premier League. Before we get into it though, as always, if you are looking forward to this, make sure you hit the thumbs up button down below, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and also tick the little bell icon while you're there. So let's get into it and let's see how this Premier League predictions is going to happen. So in 20th place, we have got Sheffield United. I just don't think they've done enough to bolster their squad in pre-season, and unless they make Bramall Lane a bit of a fortress, I don't see them. I see them having a really difficult season this year. The likes of Ravel Morrison, you don't know really what you're going to get with him. And yeah, all in all, I just feel they need a little bit more strengthening in the pre-season to have a chance of kind of staying up this season. In 19th is Norwich, new boys again, and again I don't feel Norwich have done enough in order to kind of bolster their squad. They won the league last year, they won the championship, which is fantastic, but they need a little bit more from their players. They have brought in really good loans from the Bundesliga. Farman in goal, definitely one of those, but again, want that active in on transfer deadline day, and yeah, I feel they're going to struggle this season. Those two bottom teams, I think, could be away from 18th, 17th, 16th, 15th. So I think it's only really going to be one relegation position that's really going to be fought after. Yeah, it's going to be a difficult season for both Norwich and Sheffield United. So in that last relegation place, I have put Brighton. They've done a bit of business in the summer, but it's all come from the lower leagues, and it really shows, could show the quality difference between them and other teams in the league. Mpai is a really good buy from Brentford. Adam Webster, £20 million from Bristol City. Don't really know what those players are going to do and what those players are going to be like when they reach the Premier League. Also brought Aaron Moy in that middle of midfield, which I think is an absolute bargain of a transfer to get in on transfer deadline day, but I think they'll just miss out, unfortunately, and I think it'll be Brighton, Norwich and Sheffield United that are going down this season. Just missing the drop is Newcastle. I was really worried about them at the start of the transfer window, middle of the transfer window, but actually since Steve Bruce has come in, he's made relatively decent signings, added to the squad. He got a new right back in from a French side. He's got Joe Linton in from Germany, new winger as well to replace Ayoze Perez, and he's also still got players like Almiron there. Sean Longstaff has stayed at the club, even though Man United were in for him. Still got the likes of Dubravka, Lascelles, Matt Ritchie. So the kind of nucleus of the squad that Rafa built is still there, and I think with some additions from Steve Bruce, I'm also forgetting the comeback of Andy Carroll. If he can stay fit, he can be a massive plan B for Newcastle. People like Joe Linton and Almiron and the new winger as well really could feed off him, and actually if they've got backs against the walls and need a goal, that could come in play kind of midway to the end of the season. But Newcastle just missing out on the relegation, and it'll be a tough fight between Brighton, Newcastle and Burnley. I've got Burnley in 16th. Sean Dyche, very, very good at managing and organising his squad. Brought the likes of Jay Rodriguez back to the club, Danny Drinkwater on loan on transfer deadline day, and that is about it. Let Tom Heaton go. How big is that going to be? I know they've got Nick Pope and Joe Hart there as well. They've also brought in the young lad from Leeds in goal. So they've got options. I think with Burnley, you know what you're going to get. I think the team know what Dyche wants, know how they want to set up, know how they want to organise. And I think they will be there or thereabouts with regards to the relegation zone. Them, Newcastle and Brighton really fighting for that final place. In 15th, I have got Aston Villa spent an absolute shedload. I'm not going to go through all the transfers that they've made, but made an absolute killing in the transfer window. Wesley up front from Club Brugge, I think if he hits the ground running, could fire them well up the table. But I've got them in 15th. They've got a really good nucleus. I think Tom Heaton, great signing for Aston Villa with that in goal. Still got McGinn, Grealish, they've stayed there. I know McGinn and Man United were in for McGinn as well. Grealish always being talked about for the big six clubs. Spurs, notably, are the ones that were after him. But again, managed to keep hold of him. I think Villa, if they get a good start, I know they've got a tricky first game against Spurs, but after that, it's relatively comfortable. And I think if they get a few points to kick off the campaign, they'll be safe, probably by about March, April time. Next up in 14th is Southampton. Hasselhüttl's first full season in the Premier League. He came in kind of end of last season, played out and done absolutely brilliant with Southampton. Kept them up, which is probably what his remit was when he came in. A little bit of a Klopp feel about him how he sets his teams up, and high press, high pressure game that they play, and with the likes of Danny Ings, Che Adams, and also Nathan Redmond there to put the goals away, I think they will be comfortable in 14th. I don't think they'll go down. I don't think they're going to really threaten the top 10, but they'll be a solid Premier League side this year. Now, this is why I waited to do this after the transfer window closed, and that is Crystal Palace are going to be in 13th this year. That's because they have managed to keep hold of Wilfried Zaha for the first part of the season. Now, we don't know what's going to happen in January, whether a big club is going to come in, but Wilfried Zaha is a massive player for Crystal Palace, and I think if they'd lost him and not replaced him yesterday, I think it could be lights out. They would have been further down the table, but with him in the side, they've got every chance of beating any of the team in that lower half of the table. Won most penalties last season, so if you haven't got him in your fantasy football teams, probably one to have a look at. But Crystal Palace going to easily fit in on that 13th position. Next up is Eddie Howe in Bournemouth, and I think you know what you're going to get with Eddie Howe. Really nice football. Again, a little bit like Sean Dyche, nice and organised, but he does like to attack when he can. Likes of Ryan Fraser going to be absolutely key for them this year. Callum Wilson, if they can keep him fit for the full season, that is going to be absolutely ideal. And another big transfer was to get Harry Wilson on loan from Liverpool. He had a fantastic season in the Championship last year. Great dead ball specialist. Now, if he can make that step up to the Premier League, I think Bournemouth will have a really good season. But again, you know what you're getting with Eddie Howe. You know what you're getting with Bournemouth. Tough place to go down there for away games, and I think they'll be relatively comfortable this year. In 11th place, just missing out on that top 10, is Watford. Made a few signings on transfer deadline day. Danny Welbeck, if they keep him fit, he could help the likes of Andre Gray and Troy Deeney up top. Brought in Sarr, another really fast winger. One of those players that Watford tend to sign. Don't really know too much about him, but he's probably going to be good because they've done it time and time again. And defensively, really solid, or seem to be solid last season. And again, I don't really see anything kind of troubling Watford this year. None of the teams below them, I don't think they're going to trouble them, and going to be there or thereabouts in 11th. A little bit of a surprise for this one. In 10th, I've got Wolves. Reason I've got Wolves in 10th is last season, the consistency they showed with the team selection was absolutely phenomenal. A lot of their players played pretty much every minute of every Premier League game, and that helped them up the table to finish in those Europa League spots and nick a European road trip this season. That will hinder them this year because they're going to have to rotate. They're going to have to make sure that everyone is fighting fit for a game pretty much every 3 days at the start of the season. I know it goes away if they get through to the latter stages, but yeah, it's going to be tough, a tough start for them, especially with that European road trip. They have strengthened the squad though, which is good. They've made loan signings, Dendoncker, and Jimenez as a permanent signing. They have also brought in Vallejo from Real Madrid on loan to strengthen that defensive core, and brought probably one of the best signings of the transfer window, Patrick Cutrone from AC Milan. Fantastic striker. If he can really bed in and gel well with Jimenez or Jota, I think Wolves will have another successful season in the Premier League. Next up is probably my dark horses. This West Ham side could go a little bit higher than what I'm predicting, but I'm going to stick them in at ninth because I think there's still some frailty there with this West Ham side. Still getting to grips with their move to the London Stadium, and but they have strengthened really well. Hellier up top, replacing the one-to-way Arnautovic, who's gone off to China. Fornells, if you've not seen my fancy football squad, Fornells, I think he's going to have a really good season. Been fantastic for them in pre-season, great for Spain in the summer, and if he can link up well with the likes of Wilshere, Yarmolenko, Felipe Anderson, Mikel Antonio, I mean the list goes on with the attacking force that West Ham can have. And you know, if they can make that London Stadium as difficult to go to as they did Upton Park, I think West Ham will have a decent season. I think they could finish a little bit higher than what I'm predicting, but it just depends on how they do with against the teams in and around them. That will really kind of see where they finish in the overall table. In 8th, I've got Leicester. Brendan Rodgers' first full season, and I think if he can do what he did with Celtic and with Liverpool, the way he plays, the way he trains, the way he gets the best out of youth players, the likes of Damari Gray, James Maddison, I think he'll be absolutely key. Brought in the likes of Tielemans and Dennis Praet from Sampdoria. Those two fantastic signings for that middle of midfield. I think that will really help with regards to strengthening that middle of midfield and also helping out the back line, because they've got really good engines, the two of those. Back line, I know they've lost Harry Maguire, but the likes of Kasper Schmeichel in goal, Ben Chilwell left back, you know, I really see them still being quite a defensive rock at the back. I don't think Maguire will be missed too much. I know they've got 4 centre halves there, and I think, you know, they'll be okay, especially with Brendan Rodgers at the helm. I think Leicester fans wanted a little bit more flair, wanted a little bit more attacking football that they weren't getting under Claude Puel, and that's why I think they're going to finish around about the 8th mark. In 7th, the team that I think have done the best business out of the entire transfer window, Everton, coming in at 7th, really going to push the top 6 this year. I really do think that. I think they've strengthened in all the areas that you probably needed to. Other than centre half, that's probably one area that they're still a bit shaky at, because they've tried to get Kurt Zouma back, and I know Frank Lampard had a look at him and has kept him at Chelsea this season. But Everton going into the season really, really strong. Moise Keane is going to be the X factor for them. Still got the likes of Walcott, Sigurdsson, and they brought in Andre Gomez again. Made that loan signing a permanent transfer. He was absolutely crucial to their performance the last season in the Premier League, and I feel they're going to go one step more, and I think really are going to push the top 6 for European places this year. And let's talk about the top 6. Let's go to the 5th and 6th places. I've got Arsenal in 5th, and I've got Chelsea in 6th. Why? Chelsea, I think, are going to struggle this year. I've got a transfer embargo, which doesn't help Frank Lampard in his first season at the club. Things going for them though. Frank is fantastic at getting the best out of youth players. He showed that at Derby last season, got them to the playoffs, and I think Chelsea could struggle this season with Champions League football back at the club. Plus, not able to bring anybody in. Brought in the likes of Pulisic and Kovacic before the embargo kicked in, and they could go either way. They could have a fantastic season, and these young players could really play out their potential, or they could struggle because they're not used to that level of football for that length of time. As you say, Champions League football, Carabao Cup every 3 days in the start of the season. It just depends on when and how these young Chelsea players really do adapt to the football. With regards to Arsenal, same same old really. They've gone really well in kind of strengthening their squad, but in the wrong places. They did get through David Luiz and Kieran Tierney at the last call. Kieran Tierney, fantastic signing from Celtic, £25 million I think it was. Be a great left back for them. Can play at left back, or if they go to the three at the back, can play left wing back. But I still think even with David Luiz, they're going to be really struggling at the back. Mustafi, Socrates, they really need to make sure that they're stepping up this season, because with the investment Arsenal have put in, Pepe, a new signing now, a front line of Pepe, Aubameyang and Lacazette will scare anybody as regards to a front line. Ceballos coming in on loan from Real Madrid to support those players with fantastic balls through the channels for those players to run onto, but defensively, I still think Arsenal are going to ship goals. I really do, especially with the likes of City, Liverpool, Spurs, really kind of turning the screw this summer. And I think Arsenal will just miss out on the top four. Speaking of the top four, let's get straight into it. And I've got in fourth, Man United. I think, yes, they probably didn't have the transfer window that they wanted. They didn't get in a midfielder. They didn't get out as many players as they wanted to. I know Rojo was in talks with Everton right until the last minute, but it fell through because Everton didn't want to pay the price that United were giving them. They did get out Lukaku at £74 million, which I think is a decent enough money. Nearly got all their money back from the purchase of him. And they look really good in pre-season. I think they look fantastic. The young players really stepping up. Chong, Gomez. You've also got the likes of Andreas Pereira. You've also got the likes of Mason Greenwood. But is it going to be too much too soon for United if a couple of first teamers get injured? Can these young players step in and then go that extra mile to rival the likes of Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, even Everton this year? I think they're going to be really close. I think the signings they brought at the back have really strengthened that back line. Maguire and Wan-Bissaka. I think Wan-Bissaka is going to be a fantastic right back going forward. Daniel James is going to be one to watch. I know he's got full of pace. He's bags of pace down that left or right hand side. It's just whether he's going to be strong enough to play in the Premier League, because I know he's of a slight build, so just depends on how he's going to adapt to that Premier League pace and Premier League strength in the top division. But United in fourth, I think Ollie will have a decent season. He's kept the likes of Paul Pogba, he's kept the likes of Rashford, De Gea signing a new contract as well. So all in all, it's going well for him. January, though, could come round, get more people off the books, bring a couple in if he needs to, and he'll strengthen his squad in January, absolutely. And fourth place will be United's. Probably the most talked about club on transfer deadline day was Spurs, in for loads of players. Dybala at one point, Marcelo, Sessegnon, loads of players were linked with Spurs, and And I've got them finishing third because I think they've kept hold of the players that they wanted. So Alderweireld is still there, which beggars belief. The £25 million as a release clause. Why no top club didn't tick that off, I do not know. But they've kept him, which is good. They've brought in Sessegnon, can play left back, can play left wing. Ndombele, I think he'll be a brilliant signing for them. Christian Eriksen, I think they'll lose, but that's why they brought in Lo Cello in for him. Son, Harry Kane up top, Dele Alli still there. And I think they're going to have another good season. I think they're not going to be... I think between Spurs and United and Arsenal, that's probably going to be tight. But I think that's the positions they're going to be in. I think if Harry Kane gets injured yet again, what do they do if he gets injured? But I know the likes of Son can play up there, and actually had a better win percentage when Harry Kane was injured and Son played up top. They've also got Lucas Moura who can play up there as well. So it's one of those, but... At the end of the day, Spurs got a fantastic squad, actually added to it this season where they didn't last couple of years, and Spurs to finish third. And then probably the most unimaginative top two, I've got City to win the league and I've got Liverpool to be in second. Liverpool not strengthened at all this season in the summer transfer window. Klopp kept coming out and saying there's no point in playing, no point in buying players when there's no value in the market, and you can kind of agree with him there. Spurs did the same thing last season, got to a Champions League final. So there's obviously something in the method to the madness there at Klopp. The only thing I worry about with Liverpool is if one or two of the front three get injured, you know, is there sufficient backup to help them out in that top three if a couple of midfielders go down as well at the same time? You know, that's one of those things that they didn't have last season. They didn't have any major injuries other than Oxlade, Chamberlain, but none of the kind of none of the front three, none of the midfield kind of 3 or 4 had a massive injury to kind of deal with. So it's one of those things, if they do get that big injury and they can't replace them within the squad, you could see Spurs or even United chase them for that second place. I don't think they'll be as close to City as they were last year. I think City have added in key areas, one or two players. Liverpool haven't added anybody, so that could add an extra factor. So Liverpool in second and City to win the league, 3rd consecutive league in a row. Brought in Rodri, great piece of business from Atleti, 62 million quid. I think he's going to be the starter / understudy to Fernandinho. It will allow Fernandinho to drop back a little bit deeper in his twilight years at City. Sold Danilo and brought in João Cancelo from Juventus. Fantastic bit of business. I think João Cancelo, one of the best fullbacks in world football, and gives Kyle Walker a little bit of competition in the places there. They've got the likes of Kevin De Bruyne back to full fitness. I think the only long-term injury they've got is Benjamin Mendy now. So the team know how Pep wants to play. The team have executed how Pep wants to play for the last 2 years. I don't see it being any different this season. So that is it. That is my Premier League prediction. How do you think I've done? If you're a supporter of any of those clubs, leave me a comment in the comment section down below. Have I got it right? Have I got it wrong? Let me know. Get involved down below. But that is it for this episode. If you have enjoyed it, please do drop it a like. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and you don't want to miss out any more content. Remember, tick the little bell icon so you're notified every time a video goes live. And until next time, we will see you soon. Thank you very much for watching.